Hello, my name is Eugenia and I am the founder of Unlox'U, the eating psychology clinic, where we give you a mind plan instead of a diet plan to give you the freedom and give you the control with food and your weight and your body. What is the perfect diet? Maybe you've asked yourself that question. Is there a perfect diet? There are so many people who have so many arguments about a perfect diet. And when I talk about my job or my business and this clinic, a lot of people start sharing with me how they eat. A lot of people have opinions about what is healthy and how someone's supposed to eat. And usually, if you tell someone I'm on a diet or I work with a nutritionist, there are other people who will also tell you how you're supposed to eat. And as we know, the more research we have about diet and nutrition and a way of eating, the more results we have as well. So the question is really, is there such a thing as perfect diet? And this is something that clients tell us as well. What if we could look at it from a slightly different perspective? And we saw that as an experiment. Let's say when you were a child, you were eating differently to the way you eat now. Maybe you have been on an experiment and have tried eating more vegetarian meals. How did that go for you? Maybe you have been vegan for a while. Maybe you're still vegan. Maybe you've stopped and changed back to introducing more animal-based food. How did that go for you? Maybe you have tried intermittent fasting. How did that go for you? Did it work for you? When clients ask me about a way of eating, I always ask them, how did it go for you? Did it work for you? Because if, let's say, I talked about myself, my way of eating is different to someone else. What works for me is not going to work for you. And what works for you is not going to work for your partner, your neighbor, or your friend. We are very, very individual. That's why we have to consider who we are as an eater. What is our history? Someone with disordered eating or eating disorder history will not do well on intermittent fasting. That's what I see over and over and over again. Because it takes the mind right back to feeling restricted. So people tend to then binge, overeat, and consume way too many calories in the window when they can eat. So what is your history? What we have to consider also is someone struggling maybe with emotional eating. Is someone maybe struggling to manage their emotions? And this is where we need to go first. Maybe we need to learn first to address how do I manage or deal with my emotions. Someone who might experiment with a paleo diet and it doesn't work for them, maybe it's not the paleo diet that doesn't work. Maybe they have other underlying triggers. Maybe they have developed really bad habits that are driving their eating decisions. Has nothing to do with the diet itself. Sometimes when we work through those underlying triggers that are triggering our eating habits, the way we eat changes just automatically as a consequence. Sometimes the reason why a person is eating way too many calories throughout the day may be because they are otherwise not allowing themselves to eat food that they would really enjoy. Or maybe because they've been restricting and been on a very restrictive diet over the last 2 weeks, and now their mind is just going crazy because they really want to eat all that food that is available. So we all have different ways of eating. And when I ask my clients to answer, or let's say when I answer my clients' questions, what is the perfect diet? I always ask, who are you as an eater? And when you're eating, who is eating? Is it the rebellious self that is eating in that moment and you just want to do what you want to do when you want to do it? Or are you that inner child that is eating, who is just sad and all it wants is love and affection, being listened to? Is that maybe the inner child that is eating in that moment? Or are you that critical self that is just telling you shouldn't be doing this? Why are you eating this again? You don't need this cake anymore. Is there maybe that critical self eating in that moment? So the idea is to understand who we are as an eater, understand what is triggering our eating behaviors, what is driving our eating behaviors. Is it habits? Is it patterns? Is it something we've been doing for so many years and it's now really ingrained in us? We also have to consider our history. Maybe you've grown up in a culture where you eat a lot of meat. And if you want to go maybe and try a vegetarian diet or even maybe vegan, this might be more difficult for you. So we need to consider that. When I work with people from different cultures, their food is different. The way they cook is different. We have to consider that as well. Someone from, let's say, India eats probably different to someone who is from US. Or someone who is from Europe eats differently, depends on where in Europe, but let's say maybe I'm from Germany, so maybe someone who's from Germany eats differently to someone who grew up here in New Zealand, right? So we have to consider that. Nobody will ever eat the same. So what is the perfect diet? I'd like to invite you to go on an experimental journey and really experiment what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And really learn to understand how your body is responding to food. Maybe food that is highly processed, has ingredients that don't really exist out in the nature, maybe your body doesn't like it. Maybe it's not the best diet for you. Maybe you're okay having it from time to time. Maybe having sometimes gluten you're okay with. Maybe having gluten every day, your body will not respond well. Or maybe it doesn't create any issues whatsoever for you. Even diet that is high in, let's say, like the highly processed food, that was also an experiment. When we started creating fast food, right? McDonald's was one of the first who came up with that fast, being convenient, just going over and getting pre-cooked food. That was an experiment. It didn't exist before. Now we've tried it. Well, how is it going for us? How is it working out for us? Maybe it doesn't. So if that doesn't work for us, isn't it then the answer that is maybe not working for us? Maybe that is then the answer that is not the diet I should be on? If, let's say, skipping breakfast creates binges for me later in the day, maybe that is not the best diet for me. If I have too many processed simple carbohydrates throughout my day and my blood sugar is in a dance roller coaster and I end up then creating food cravings in the afternoon or in the evening, maybe that is not the best diet for you. Some people do well on more carbohydrates, some people do well on low carbohydrate diet. Some people are doing well on more fat, other people do well on less fat but more protein. So let's experiment and see what works for you. Nutrients and nutrition is actually more complicated than we believe, because nutrients is not only getting the nutrients from our diet or food that we consume, it's also how our body is digesting it. It's also how our body is taking all those nutrients as well. So someone who has fear of food, and let's say they have a piece of cake in front of them. Let's say there are two people. One person has a cake in front of them and the second person has a cake in front of them. Both people will be digesting that food differently. Especially that person who is maybe anxious about it. Maybe they are so stressed and they knew they're going to be eating a piece of cake. Their body is in a survival mode. When we are in a survival mode, when our cortisol levels are up high here, our body shuts down our digestive system, because that is not the most important thing in that moment. When we're in a fight and flight mode, our body thinks we don't have energy to digest food right now. We don't even have the energy to sit down and eat food. What we need is to go and run from the danger. So the person who is extremely anxious about that food that is in front of them, one is the body will not probably digest it properly because their digestive system is maybe shut down. Plus, also, if the cortisol levels are up, the body thinks we need to store this energy now as body fat in case we will need to run for a mile or two to get away from that food. So we are more likely to store body fat when we're anxious, when we're in stress, when we are always worried about food or other problems in our lives. So it's not just what we eat. It's why we eat. It's how we eat. It's when we eat. It's how we digest food as well. That also contributes to the decision, what is the perfect diet? Maybe we need to look also into what is my state when I'm eating? How can I calm, bring my nervous system down, switching the parasympathetic nervous system, so that my digestion is prepared to absorb all the nutrients that I have in my food and make really the most out of it. Maybe we need to look into those underlying drivers why we're making certain food decisions and how much we eat, so we can address that, and all of our food decisions later on will be well for our body as a consequence. Maybe we need to learn how our body responds to certain foods, how we like certain foods, how if it gives us energy, if we feel depleted from it, how do we get bloating from certain foods. All these things that you as an individual, as an eater, have to learn about. And we're here to help. We're here to support you to find your perfect diet, to help you to identify what are your underlying triggers, what are your underlying drivers for your decisions, how you respond to food, maybe how you can eat to support your energy, your life, your drive for life, for your purpose. That's what we're here for. And we're going to start with a seminar called Solve the Overeating Puzzle, where I'm going to go through 13 underlying drivers for food cravings, overeating, emotional eating, binge eating, for the drivers why we choose certain foods, and also what maybe is the cause for our worries around food, body, and weight. And this is on next Thursday. I'm going to put the link below. Have a look at the seminar. It's online. You can check it out. You will also get a recording of the seminar so you can watch it at any time. It will be packed with information. It is because it's a very, very comprehensive seminar. It will be packed with information. There will be so many things you will learn you will not have heard anywhere before. I have not heard it anywhere before. It's everything, the work that I am doing and the research that I'm doing in the background. So you will want to rewatch that seminar, and that's why I'm going to give you a recording for this as well. Otherwise, just book a call with us, book your free consultation, and we will discuss how we can support you, your background, your history, who you are as an eater, what you want, what you desire for yourself, and also create a roadmap how to get where you want to be faster. So book a free consultation with us. It's unlox'u.nz/calendar, or I know it's probably somewhere, the link is probably somewhere here as well. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you and supporting you. Have a beautiful rest of your Thursday or whenever you're listening to this video, and I'll see you soon again.